So good morning, everyone. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining in today's Thursday morning session. SMS, as we fondly tell it. So we are continuing with the journey on section 128A. So we have already covered many of the FAQs, but still, as I was discussing with Arpit ji and Unni ji yesterday, with the reading of the FAQs, the answers are coming, but they are making us even more confusing, and we are now contemplating a lot of scenarios. So one common that is commonly coming in the mind of the taxpayers is that once I have gone into the 128A for the partial waiver of the interest and penalty against an order wherein it was, say for 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21. So 3 years are involved, out of which two are covered by the waiver scheme. Yeah, so two are covered by the waiver scheme, and the third year, which is 2021, is not covered by the waiver scheme. So as per the format, as per the things given, if I have to take the benefit of 18, 19, 19, 20, I'll have to pay the tax of 18, 19, 19, 20. And at the same time, I'll have to pay the tax, interest, and penalty of 2021. So effectively, because of the clubbing of the show cause notice by a officer, proper officer, when he had prepared the show cause notice, because of the clubbing of 18, 19, 19, 20, and 2021, I as a taxpayer am suffering in the process of paying the tax, interest, and penalty for 2021. Even though I think I have a merit in that, I could be challenging that just because I want to take benefit of 17, 18, 18, 19, wherein I have a larger pie of tax because the tax amounts are high. So that's why I want to take that benefit. So what is the view of the house on this?
Morning, Arupji.
Good morning, Arvind. I just initiated this question, Arvind, so that you can take it forward.
I was there when you were saying the question.
अच्छा, तो आपको क्या? We'll start with you, then I'll be handing over the baton to you.
Arupji, in my opinion, we had a long discussion in the past session also regarding the clubbing of the years and whether
Yes,
the
right,
portal allows it or not. And
right.
regarding what you have said that mostly these are the cases wherein the CGST has issued the notice.
Yes, yes,
Because
yes, understood.
in the state matters, they have only issued a notice for a particular year rather than clubbing of many years.
Right, right, right.
And if we go through section 74 also, then the
Hmm.
summary of notice concept is also there. That means the act
Right,
also emphasizes that there should be separate notices for all the years. And then
right,
we had a discussion on portal allowing issuing or notice of multiple years. Then Gurjiji said that
right,
presently now a functionality has been introduced wherein DRC 07 can be issued for multiple years, but prior to that there were no such functionality. So what the department was doing, they're issuing a common order, but they were issuing separate DRC 077 for all the years.
yeah,
So in that
yeah,
case, supposedly in your case, what happens is I opt for 17, 18, 18, 19, and I do not opt for 2021 because DRC 07 is separate. Then what would be the
right,
situation that we had discussed? And in my opinion, since it is a portal-based functionality, so if DRC 07 has been issued for multiple years, then yes, option can be made and then can be litigated. And if there are multiple years, then also option should be submitted and then it should be litigated.
great, great. So I think Arpit ji, so I'll request you to take it forward from here. ठीक है. So I'm there. So अभी इसके बाद we'll continue with the FAQs.
Yes, you are continuing with the thing.
Okay, okay.
So, good morning, everyone.
Good
And
morning.
we are continuing with section 128A and the various FAQs which have been issued by the government. So, starting with today's session and where we have left off, Venugopal ji, please
Yeah.
allow me to share the screen.
हाँ जी हाँ जी
अर्पित भैया, हेलो.
हाँ आकाश.
हाँ भैया, आई हैव अ क्वेश्चन. ले लूं अभी क्वेश्चन एक?
हाँ हाँ
है ना. इफ टैक्स इज ऑलरेडी पेड एंड देयर इज डिमांड ऑफ ओनली इंटरेस्ट एंड पेनल्टी, तो उस केस में टाइम लिमिट क्या रहेगी फॉर फाइलिंग ऑफ SPL 01 और 02?
So, the 3 months from the 3 months from 31st March.
क्योंकि उसमें 3 months फ्रॉम डेट ऑफ पेमेंट लिखा है ना, दैट्स व्हाई. 128A
But
में
yes,
लिखा 3
we,
months from the
Akash,
date of payment. हेलो,
hello.
हाँ उसमें एक्चुअली
Please,
120, हाँ बताइए.
एक the relevant notification which was issued.
I think 22/24 is the relevant notification.
Arpit ji, you're there?
Yes, yes, I'm.
You're able to share the screen, right?
Yes, yes. Ash, rule 164 sub rule 6 में any person who wishes to file an application under sub rule 1 or sub rule 2 may do so within a period of 3 months from the date notified under subsection 1 of section 128A. It is not 3 months from the date of payment, it is 3 months from the date notified under section 128A.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Members, this is a short screen which I have short slide which I have prepared because this was precisely the issue which on which we had left in the previous session. See, question number 12 of this FAQ: whether section 128A will cover waiver of penalties under other provisions, late fees, redemption fine, etc. So what they have clarified is, it is clarified that any penalty, including penalties under section 73, section 122, section 125, etc., demanded under demand notice / statement / order issued under section 73 is covered under the waiver provided under section 128A. However, late fees, redemption fine, etc., are not covered under waiver provided under section 128A. So what they have said is that penalty under section 122 and section 125 shall be covered under 128A. But late fees would not be covered. The prima facie reason which I see for late fees not being covered is because section 73 only covers recovery of tax, interest and penalty. Therefore, it does not cover recovery of late fees. So as per them, as per the lawmakers, the entire late fee should have been collected through the portal, or section 73 is not the relevant section for collection of late fees. In my opinion, once the late fees has not been collected, then section 73 it is not relevant for collection of late fees. Other than that, there is no other provision in the statute which specifies for collection of late fees. So firstly, the issue of order under section 73 was itself incorrect. Secondly, even if the order has been issued, then once the order has been issued under section 73, and since section 128A covers all the orders which have been issued under section 73, upon payment of tax, entire interest and penalty is waived off along with all the proceedings in the notice to be concluded. Therefore, therefore levy of late fees should also be covered by this, or if the commissioner feels that it was not the correct way to recover the late fees by issuing order under section 73, then either a cross appeal, the same should be reviewed under section 108. But if the order stands as of now of 73, then late fees should also be covered. So, other than this, the FAQ says that penalty under section 122 and 125 would also be covered and would be waived. Now, coming to section 128A, because this clarification has to be read along with this provision under section 128A, which says no interest under section 50 and penalty under this act shall be payable and all the proceedings in respect of the said notice or order or statement as the case may be shall be deemed to be concluded, subject to the conditions as may prescribe. So the most important terminology which I think would be creating the next set of litigation in 128A would be all the proceedings in respect of the said notice or orders or statement shall be concluded. So I have taken 3 scenarios. Case 1, supposedly I have levied tax at the rate of 12%. The officer says that you have to levy tax at the rate of 18%. And there is one other issue of late fees being levied or late fees being sought to be levied. So supposedly there is a tax of say 5,000 rupees, interest of say 1,000 rupees, penalty of say 500 rupees and late fees of say 5 lakh rupees. Now once I pay that 5,000 rupees for difference payment of tax, so this relevant provision of 128A comes to my rescue and says all the proceedings in respect of the said notice or order as statement shall be deemed to be concluded. Because now no longer no amount of tax is left to be paid in this notice. All amount of tax which is 5,000 rupees has been paid, and levy of late fees is a proceeding which is there in the notice. And since the provisions say that all the proceedings in respect of said notice shall be deemed to be concluded, therefore late fees should also be concluded. Similarly, let's take an example for case 2. Section 73 invoked for less payment of tax 12% or 18%. And penalty for 122(1) clause 3 levied. So I make a payment of say 5,000 rupees, and there is a delay payment of there is a penalty for 122(1)(3) for delayed payment beyond 90 days of say 10 lakh rupees. Now this FAQ says that penalty under section 122 would be covered. From where this FAQ is coming? I think this is again coming from all the proceedings in respect of the said notice or order or statement shall be deemed to be concluded. Now let's take another example, case 3, wherein again only 5,000 rupees tax is there, and there is a penalty under section 122(1)(3) and penalty under section 125. Now also in this entire proceedings, only tax of 5,000 is there. Other than that, penalty is say 122(1)(3) is of 10 lakh rupees, and penalty under section 125 is of 50,000 rupees. Again, this FAQ supports me and say that 5,000 rupees tax has to be paid, and since there is no longer any more tax to be paid in this notice other than 5,000 rupees, all proceedings in respect of the said notice or order statement shall be deemed to be concluded. So this is how I read it, because all the proceedings, what 128A says that I have to pay the tax which is there in the notice, and upon payment of tax, interest and penalty would no longer be payable, and all the proceedings in respect of said notice shall be deemed to be concluded. It does not restrict itself to the issue based proceedings. It is enlarging the concept with the notice based proceedings, not issue based proceedings. So that's why, in my opinion, once the order has been issued under section 73 and the tax stated in that notice has been paid, then whether it is a late fees or it is a penalty under section 122 or penalty under section 125, all the proceedings in respect of the said notice should be deemed to be concluded. And that's why my point in the earlier session was that the law envisaged that the notice should be issued on an issue based proceeding. That one issue and all the proceedings in relation to that issue shall be complete, shall be there in the notice, whether it is a penalty or any other levy. But if there are two issues, there should be two separate notices, because this very terminology of all the proceedings in the respect of said notice are there in section 73 also. So this is how I see the entire understanding of levy of late fees penalty, and this is how I see collection of interest. Although this FAQ has stated that in para number 4 that since interest has to be self-assessed and has to be collected in 7512, therefore it cannot be covered under 128A. In my opinion, once it is part of the proceeding under section 73 and no power has been exercised under 108 by the commissioner, it remains part of the notice. And once I pay the tax which has been stated in the notice, then no interest and penalty, and all the proceeding in inspector said notice shall be deemed to be concluded. So therefore, the interest also gets covered unless until the commissioner exercise the power to revise it under section 108. So this is how I see, and now it is open for the views of the participants that how this entire thing has to be understood.
Sir, Arpit sir?
Yes.
Yeah, sir, in addition to this, all proceedings are deemed to be concluded. The waiver says of penalty under this act. It is not restricting the waiver to penalty under any particular section. So as far as penalty is concerned, it is very clear. It says the penalty under this act need not be paid. So be it 122 penalty or 125 penalty, the 128A expressly says that penalty under this act shall be waived off. And similar to that, it says about interest under section 50. So interest under section 50, be it self-assessed interest on self-assessed tax or be it interest on the tax as demanded by the officer, either of these interests are falling under section 50 only. So in that context also, in addition to all proceedings deemed to be concluded, in addition to this, because it says interest under section 50 and penalty under this act, so even otherwise these are covered by waiver is what my thought process is.
Very correct.
One more thought, Arpitji here, they are saying penalties. So can we call this late fee or redemption fine as a taking a color of penalty? That is a one thing. And the second thing in that FAQ, they have used as etc. Like they have set penalties under section 122, 125 and etc. So how we determine that as an etc actually? How we read that etc actually? So is it all penalties which are covered under the penalty chapter and late fee and redemption fine is not taking the color of penalty? So can we read that way also, sir? So that
in my opinion, they have used etc. because one thing that in the 128A said all the proceedings in respect of said notice. So again, wherein there are multiple issues and supposedly the entire tax amount out of those issues have been paid under section 73. Therefore, all the proceeding, whether it is for late fees or penalty, should be covered. And as also has been said, that the terminology used under the 128 is penalty under this act. Although the department might say that this word penalty under this act is only relating to the issue for which you are paying the tax. But if I read it along with all the proceeding, then every penalty which is there under the notice, because it is the error of the officer wherein he have issued a notice by clubbing multiple issues. Therefore, due to his error, I cannot be restricted to claim the benefit of this waiver scheme, because the intent of the act was always there to have a issue-based notice, not a not clubbing of multiple issues in the notice. And that is how 128 is taking color from section 73. Now, in my opinion, that's why the entire phrase, all the proceedings read with penalty under this act and interest under section 50 would be the next round of litigation, that how it has to be interpreted. And once they have clarified that 122 and 125 are also included, there was no other reason but on account of this only that they have covered 122 and 125. So on this account 73, on this account interest and late fees should also be covered.
okay.
In one of the cases, sir, what they have done is they have imposed penalty in the show cause notice, but the officer has, while making DRC, has raised this demand in other section. And while we are thinking of taking the benefit of this 128A, but even though they have written penalty, but they have raised this demand in other section. So it becomes a issue. I mean, we have to either have to go to the appeal and get it corrected to the penalty part and then take the benefit, or we can apply. We can say ask a Singh officer to apply the Singh and this correction and get the benefit. Please.
Again, in this respect, we have a discussion earlier in the session that whether DRC 01, when the DRC 01 was issued, whether this amount was quantified in the section of penalty, or whether DRC 01 was not at all issued?
Sir, at that time it was it was not quantified. It was just mentioned that why should not be imposed on late fee.
Okay, so in my opinion, how I see that, a notice was issued, but in DRC 01 it was not quantified. Now the order has been issued. In order, there is also, it has been quantified in penalty, but in DRC 07 alone, it has been quantified in others.
Yes, yes, sir.
So in my opinion, once there's an underlying order, so therefore DRC 07 is only summary of that order. Therefore, there can be two scenarios. On the safer side, we can file an appeal, and on the other side, we can file a rectification also simultaneously for correction of DRC 07. Again, because it's a matter of waiver scheme, therefore we have to be extra careful, and in my opinion, we cannot restrict ourselves to only one option and leave the other option.
Right, sir. Right. Thank you.
Sir, in this scenario, if an appeal is filed and let's say the appeal gets disposed of after March 25, then whether this scenario will be again covered under waiver under 128A, because there's no specific provision for this.
Sir, in all these cases, in my opinion, what should be done, that if the appeal is pending, we should file as we should go for the amnesty scheme also, because once we go for amnesty scheme, we would be withdrawing the appeal, and upon withdrawal, we would be eligible for the scheme. And supposedly, we are not held eligible for the scheme, then we can file an appeal against that rejection order. And supposedly, at the last point, it is held that you are not eligible for the scheme. At that time also, my earliest appeal gets reinstated. So on a safer side and having my interest protected, it's better that I file an SPL 01 and then SPL 01 or 2 as the case may be, and withdraw the appeal and wait for the decision in this waiver scheme, and whatever decision comes, I go for an appeal. At the last point, if I am not held eligible, then my appeal gets restored.
Yeah, the appeal would get restored, sir.
Yes,
but when
yes.
the appeal gets restored, finally, if the appeal says that it should not have come under others, it should have come under penalty only, then in that case, in any which ways, I might have not paid the taxes before 31st of March.
Sir, this issue, when I would be going for an appeal against rejection of my waiver, this issue would also would have already been decided in that appeal, because the rejection would say that this amount has been quantified in others, so you are not eligible for waiver scheme. I would say that this is an incorrect reflection of that amount of penalty, and it should be quantified under penalty. So when I would be filing an appeal against the rejection, this would already be the matter which would be adjudicated in that appeal or decided in that appeal.
Okay, sir.
Any other views from the members?
Sir, in Rule 164, subclause 17.
Wait a minute, ma'am. Yes, 164 subclause 17.
So here they say that in case where the taxpayer is required to pay any amount of interest, penalty, or both in respect of any demand pertaining to erroneous refund or on account of demand pertaining to the period other than the period mentioned in 128A, subsection 1, and the details of the amount has been mentioned in SPL 5 or SPL 6, the applicant shall pay the said amount within a period of 3 months from the issuance of order in SPL 5 or SPL 6, and where the said amount is not paid within the said time period, then the whole order will become void. So in using this clause, I mean the late fee or something and the other charges, whatever we were discussing, if it is included in the SPL 5 form and said that you have to pay this amount, and we don't end up paying, I mean, we are liable for rejection. Is it not?
No, I would be filing an appeal against this order, na SPL, wherein the amount is, see, SPL 05 is an order wherein it is said that you are eligible for the scheme. So
Correct.
based upon whatever I have stated in my form. So if I have stated that this late fees is not liable to be paid, then there would be an order of rejection under SPL 07. SPL 05 would not be issued in this case.
But on what grounds will they add the amount in the SPL 5 and say that you are eligible subject
No.
you pay this amount?
They would not add it. They would not add it because for 73, see, this 17 is requiring me to pay interest and penalty for only those issues which are there for separate years other than 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. And secondly, which any amount which is there on account of erroneous refund. So for the tax amount has to be paid prior to filing of the application, and interest and penalty for the erroneous refund or any other year has to be paid after issuance of SPL 05. So when I would say for 17, 18, there's a late fee, I make the payment of tax, and I say that issue me an SPL 05 because I am entitled. The officer would issue me notice and say that you have not paid the late fees, and therefore late fees is not covered under this waiver scheme. Therefore, you're not eligible, and SPL 07 would be issued, and I would have to file an appeal against that SPL 07.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because this particular thing covers only interest penalty in respect of other years or erroneous refund.
Yes.
So that's why he cannot invoke
Yes.
this section and add the late fee in the final order
Yes.
in SPL 5.
Yes.
Fine.
So shall I move ahead?
Yes.
Yes.
Arpit
Yes.
I'm Yatish here. I don't know whether this question has already been deliberated in the previous sessions, but if you permit me,
Yes.
if I have already see that question 4 is creating a lot of issues. I was discussing with the department also, and this is where I think that question number 4 of the FAQ where they have said,
Yes. I'm just sharing it again.
yeah, probably I'm going back.
Yes. This is question number 4. Is it visible?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
one session we had only for that.
In my opinion, Venuji, the entire scheme is revolving in section question number 4, question number 12, and multiple years and erroneous refund and multiple notices, multiple section being invoked in one notice.
Correct.
Other
Yatish ji,
than
please
that,
go
the
ahead.
scheme is pretty clear. Yes, Yatishi. It seems we have lost.
We lost. No,
we
is
lost
there?
him.
But you are on mute.
Okay, sorry. I'm back.
Hmm.
Yes, Yatishi.
Whether the benefit provided under the scheme will be available in case where tax has already been paid and the notice or demand orders only pertain to interest and penalty.
Yes.
The answer goes to say, yes, it is available, but then the second para tries to say that the benefit will not be available where there has been a delayed filing or delayed reporting of supplies.
Yes.
And then it goes to explain the logic behind this by talking about 7512 and direct recovery under 79. Now, in there could be 2-3 situations. One is the taxpayer has reported in one and not paid in 3B. And then there is a 73, which has been, he has got a 73 notice, and then finally he has paid the tax. This could be one situation. I don't know whether this will be covered under that question answer exactly, because that talks only of delayed filing or delayed reporting. Second situation could be he has only disclosed it in 9. and again only paid the tax, but it is not there in one. So technically it is not self-assessed. But he has disclosed in his GSTR 9 and paid the tax, not paid the interest and penalty. So if you could just throw some light, I know there has been some discussion on this, but these are two situations which are almost similar, where taxpayer has disclosed either in 1 or 9. Looking at this answer they have given, the first case, they will probably say that it is a case of 75-12 and reject. What happens if the taxpayer has disclosed it in 9 and not paid the interest and penalty? If you could just compare these two situations and give us some inputs on this.
But Yatish, is there a demand? Answer is no. Is there a notice? Answer is no.
There is Venuji, they have invoked 73 for this.
But they have invoked 73 only for the
Interest, penalty,
interest.
late fee. Interest,
Correct.
penalty, and late fee, and all these things. There
And
is no tax
nothing-
demand.
No tax demand. Yeah, correct. I think that should be very important for everyone to keep it in mind before answer. Yeah.
Okay, can we keep this question for the last 10 minutes so we can quickly discuss the other section? Question.
Okay.
So for the last 10 minutes, we will keep this question. In my opinion, most of the questions we have already discussed. So I would just go through the questions pretty fast. So question number 7, up to question 7, we had discussed in the previous session. Now question number 8, in cases where department has filed an appeal against the order mentioned in clause B, C, subsection 1 of 128A, and the appellate authority, appellate tribunal, or the court or the revision authority has issued an order enhancing the tax liability, and in the meanwhile the proper officer issued SPL 05 under 128A, and taxpayer has not paid the said additional amount of tax within specified, what will be the status of conclusion of the proceedings under section 128A? So the scheme says that if the amount is not being paid within 3 months from the date of the said order, then the benefit given under this scheme shall be taken back, and the order issued under SPL 05 shall become void. So this is how they say that if the department has supposedly I have filed an application for waiver, the department approves that waiver application, and then the department files a cross appeal or cross appeal under section 107 against the original order, and the appellate authority enhances the amount. So that says that either the enhanced amount has to be paid within 3 months, or the entire benefit which was given earlier would be deemed to have been withdrawn. So the appellant would be left with no other option. So, but to challenge that order which has enhanced his tax liability in the subsequent forum, and whatever benefit he was given by way of SPL 05 would be withdrawn. So therefore, in addition to the additional amount which can be challenged subsequently, but the interest or penalty of the original order which was waived on account of SPL 05 would also now become payable, and the appellant would be left with no other option but to pay, because the time limit for filing of appeal would have again gone, and he cannot file an appeal for that interest and penalty. And to an extent, what I believe, that supposedly I had filed an appeal against an order under section 73. I applied for the waiver scheme. I was granted the benefit of waiver scheme. My interest and penalty was waived. Then the department filed an appeal against the order in original. The amount was enhanced, which I did not want to pay. Therefore, I filed an appeal against the appellate order, which was issued for enhancing the demand. At the same time, since SPL 05 has now become void, therefore, either my earlier appeal should be reinstated, or I should not be, and if it is not reinstated, then if I am asked to pay that amount of interest and penalty which was waived, I would be left in a position wherein there would be a substantial loss of funds because of this. The entire, how this scheme has been drafted.
Sir, in a case where hello,
Yes.
yes, sir, in a case where like SPL 05 is issued and the proceedings are concluded, can then the department initiate revision under section 108, sir? That after
Yes,
SPL
yes.
5 is issued, a revision
Yes,
notice
yes,
is
yeah. That is specifically covered in the proviso to section 128A. That within the time limit specified in the relevant section, 108 can be initiated.
Yeah, that the second proviso which is there, sir, to 128A, I'll just read that, sir. It tells, provided further
Let me
that,
share the screen. Let me share the screen
yes, yes.
for everyone.
नको.
You can say there seems to be some issue with the net. I can share. I will share the screen. You can continue the query.
Yes, sir. So the second proviso says, provided further that the conclusion of the proceedings under this subsection, in cases where an application is filed under 1073 or under 112 subsection 3, or an appeal is filed under section 117 subsection 1, or any proceedings are initiated under 108 subsection 1. So does it mean to say, sir, that before conclusion of the proceedings, if these things are done, then this proviso would apply. But once the proceedings are concluded and SPL 05 is issued, thereafter, if any additional action is taken, that is not covered by this proviso.
If we read the entire thing, provided further that the conclusion of the said proceeding under this the conclusion of the proceeding under this subsection. If we read from the start, it says the conclusion of the proceeding under this section in cases when application is filed under subsection is filed under subsection 1073 or 1123, or appeal is filed by an officer of central tax of 1171 under subsection 118, or where proceedings are initiated under 1081 against an order or B or C against the direction. Now we have to read it from here. See, this entire amount is, this entire text is relating to what can be done once an application is filed. But if we go read from the start, provided further that the conclusion of the proceeding under this subsection shall be subject to the condition that the said person pays the additional amount of tax payable if any, in accordance with the order of the appellate authority or appellate tribunal of the court or revision authority, as the case may be, within 3 months from the date of the said order. So once an application is being filed, conclusion of that application by issuing SPL 05 is only subject to the condition that the whatever amount is decided in those proceedings are paid within a period of 3 months. So it is not a case wherein the time period is limited only up to issuance of SPL 05. The entire conclusion is subject to the payment being made within a period of 3 months.
Okay, so that the entire conclusion is subject to.
Hello. Yes.
We may say that this conclusion of proceeding is provisional until the time limit to so and so is achieved. Until the time limit of 108 is achieved, you take this paper, conclusion of proceeding, and deem it as provisional until like that. We
Yes,
should
yes, definitely,
be understanding it like that.
definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
Rajiv ji, right?
Yes, Rajiv ji.
Yeah, let's proceed. 941.
Regarding
So in cases where a revision has been made, is being made under 108, and the assessee does not pay the amount in 3 months, so he would have to file against an appeal against at the before appellate authority against that order, and in addition to that, the earlier amount which was waived would only have to be paid, because there is no other provision in this entire scheme that what will happen to the SPL 05 amount which was waived previously, and now it becomes payable due to non-payment within 3 months. So question number 9,
Sir,
subsection
here it
3
is
of
only tax amount, no? Not interest and
the tax amount is already
sir,
which
hello.
additional amount? Additional amount.
Additional
Yes,
amount
Rajiv
of
ji,
tax is to
regarding
be
the
paid, or
additional amount.
additional amount of interest and penalties waived. Here it is. Yeah, sir. Additional amount.
Only tax amount has to be paid for the additional amount.
That means this benefit is to be given to us for additional amount, no interest and penalty.
Yes.
Is it possible? Is it? It
Is
means
possible?
so.
Yes, because
But
the second
what
proviso
waives
says
that
that
interest and penalty under 73?
yes, yes. Rajiv ji, the second proviso to 128A says that the said person pays the additional amount of tax payable within 3 months from the date of the said order. So the proviso is
Yes,
only
tax
asking
pay.
us to pay the additional amount of tax, not the
Mhm.
additional amount of interest and penalty.
Not interest and penalty. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That. Thank you.
Sir, if we come to that 128A, subsection 1, clause B, sir, that where an order is passed under 73(9) and where no order under 1081 is being passed. So
Yes.
in such case where the tax is being paid, then the proceedings are deemed to be concluded. So does it not mean that 108 cannot be initiated, sir, once SPL 5 is issued?
No, no, there is a specific proviso. That's why they have inserted the proviso.
Okay, okay, sir.
And again, if we read clause C, an order passed under section 107 or subsection 108. And B also says that or subsection 1 of section 108 has been passed. So they have sufficiently covered the power to file a cross appeal or a power to revise the proceedings under 128A, and that has been given to them, even though the right of the taxpayer has been taken to file an appeal against once SPL 05 has been issued.
Hello.
Hello.
Sir,
Hello.
here it says that you have to pay additional tax only. Hello.
Yes, 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 sir.
On question number 8, I have to pay additional tax only, but it might be the
Yes.
situation that additional amount is raised ₹100 plus interest plus penalty. My duty is to pay interest to save this SPL 05. But otherwise, within 3 months, I have to pay the tax amount only. So that my provisional this waiver scheme is not challenged or disturbed. But otherwise, my duty to pay additional tax, interest and penalty will be there. There is no waiver to that. Original order was for ₹100. Rectified order is for ₹200 plus interest and penalty. I paid ₹100 initially, interest penalty waived. Thereafter, additional ₹100 came to be paid along with interest and penalty. I pay only additional tax. My relief is intact, but additional interest and penalty will have to be paid by me. There is no relief on that. No.
So what you are saying that the additional amount of tax which has to be paid, it has to be paid only for the purpose of keeping my earlier
Saving.
benefit intact. Now, however, for the additional amount, I have to pay the interest and penalty if any determined, and that will not be covered by the benefit under 128A.
No, sir, there is a clarification, sir. Even if that
Yes.
additional amount is paid, there is a waiver of interest and penalty, even for that additional tax payable also. Subject to that, it is paid within 3 months.
Okay, we may see.
हाँ अर्पित जी उसमें वही है
Yes.
अन्नपूर्णा मैम इज सेइंग दैट्स राइट मतलब जो भी टैक्स विल बी ascertained by the appellate authority or the revision authority that has to be paid in order to keep my benefit of earlier waiver of interest and penalty for the newly assessed appellate amount मतलब appellate authority ने जो higher amount enhance किया मेरे लिए उसका टैक्स देना पड़ेगा बट इंटरेस्ट पेनल्टी नहीं होगा
Anupurna,
मेरा एक ही
from
प्रॉब्लम है
where, from
एक ही
where,
प्रॉब्लम है
yeah,
One second, I'll
एक ही
share
इशू है
that.
if I don't pay the enhanced amount then I also lose the benefit of the previous amount that I've paid. So previous amount पे भी मुझे tax interest penalty pay करना पड़ेगा.
It is there in the rule. I'll just give 1
But
minute.
sir, my question is, yeah,
हाँ sir, yes,
Rajiv
Rajiv
ji,
sir,
your
बोलिए.
point is well taken that the proviso is only saying that for keeping the earlier benefit intact, that additional amount of tax has to be paid. So from where it is coming that the interest and penalty on that additional amount would also be waived by since SPL 05 has been issued.
yes, that is my doubt. That is.
अच्छा, you're saying how the older benefit will be revoked? वही doubt है क्या आपका राजीव जी?
नहीं, Arup ji, what he is saying, Rajiv ji,
No,
that
sir.
that SPL 05 has been issued. Additional interest, tax interest and penalties determined under section 108. So what second
ठीक है.
proviso says that additional tax has to be paid to keep the earlier benefit intact.
हाँ.
But what about the interest and penalty on that additional amount? Because the scheme is nowhere saying anything about that additional interest and penalty on that additional tax. Because SPL 05 also would have been issued for the earlier order, not for this order.
नहीं यहाँ पे ना ये second para आप जो कर रहे हो accordingly it becomes clear. ये वाला it says accordingly it becomes clear that in cases where as
Yes,
an
sir.
order only additional tax
sir,
amount as determined.
Yes, all the
Additional tax
proceeding,
amount
this
is determined.
conclusion of proceeding is for the
will be subject to the condition that the taxpayer pays the additional tax amount so determined by the appellate authority or by the tribunal or by the revision authority. But the condition is if the additional tax has to be paid. In case such, yeah.
Now this, see, in case such additional payment is not done within a period of 3 months from the date of the cert, then as per 164, the waiver of interest or penalty or both under section 120 as per order issued and shall become void. So it is only saying that additional payment has to be made for the continuance of SPL 05. Now in 108, additional tax has been determined on an entirely separate issue which was not there in SPL 05.
Acha.
So I have to pay the tax to keep my benefit of waiver intact.
Right.
But what about the interest and penalty on that additional tax?
So since they have told pay the additional tax here, so we thought we are taking the view that only additional tax agar pay karenge, then interest and penalty will be waived even for the additional amount.
See, I come back to section 128A again. Second proviso. Provided further the conclusion of proceeding under this subsection shall be subject to the condition that the said person pays the additional amount of tax payable, if any, in accordance with the order of the appeal authority or appellate tribunal or the revision of the as the case may be within 3 months from the date of the said order. So the conclusion of proceedings under this section. So this section, the conclusion is proceedings in respect of order in original. And if I have to keep the benefit of waiver in respect of interest and penalty for the earlier order, I have to pay the additional amount of tax of this order, new order, within 3 months, which I duly pay. But what about the interest and penalty? Yes, the intent would always be there that upon payment of tax, interest and penalty for the additional tax also gets waived. But then it has to come where from specifically from section 128A, the only point from where it can come again, that upon payment of tax, the entire no interest and penalty shall be payable, and entire proceeding in respect of said notice shall be deemed to be concluded. From this clause it can come, but other than that, 128A is only saying for payment of tax on the additional amount for keeping the earlier benefit intact, not about waiver of the interest and penalty on the new issue. This is what Rajiv ji is saying.
But RPG,
Yes.
when you read the rules and it talks about that payment of erroneous refund or for the other years other than 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, there they are very specific of that interest and penalty. I'm just deriving.
Yes,
Whereas
yes,
for
yes,
yes.
yes. That's what I
Whereas
was trying
this
to
case,
say.
they only say tax. So they are well aware that
Right.
wherever interest has to be paid and penalty has to be paid, they have been specific. And for
Yeah,
this
no,
case, they are only referring to tax. So I would just take that interpretation
Yes.
that you are still in the scheme for those 3 years, provided you pay the
Yes.
tax. Even
Yes.
if there is an additional liability determined later, you will still remain and get the benefits of the scheme for those 3 years. Is
No,
what
Yes.
I'm
No, no, and
I'm
that's
Yes.
what RPG was also saying, because the intent is that you pay the tax for these 3 years, you get a benefit of interest and penalty. So I think keeping that intent intact, I think, and also what you said, that's what I was also trying to say, that for the other years they have mentioned, if it's for other years which is outside the ambit of the the 1920 ke baad jo hai, for those years you have to pay the tax, interest and penalty. Here also they would have said additional tax, interest and penalty determined by the appellate authority would have to be
correct.
paid. When they have
So
mentioned additional tax, so intent is that usko pay karo and all your proceedings are dropped.
So these
Arpit,
3 years they want to give you the waiver provided you comply with the tax payment. That is
Ah,
what
okay.
I'm reading.
Yes, we can take benefit of Rule 164, Sub-Rule 17 in this
Correct,
case.
correct,
Because
correct.
had the
17 is very
intention
specific.
been there, they would have covered the second proviso also in 164(17).
RPG, on
Yes,
this
sir.
one point, my side is that I think issue is that appellate authority has enhanced our tax liability and with interest and penalty, है ना? So
Yes, sir.
we are paying only in tax whether that additional amount of interest penalty will be waived or not, na? So
Yes, yes.
you have just read the section 128A. It says that the all proceedings in the order, and in my opinion, this appellate authority's order will be an extension to the original order only, sir. That is not independent order. So I think when order is word, the order की सारा खत्म हो जाएगा, तो उसका भी अपने आप खत्म हो जाएगा, sir. मेरा ख्याल ये है, sir. Because it is an extension of that order only, sir. Appellate
Yes.
authority का order, तो इसको extension ही माना जाएगा ना उसी order की, sir.
ये doctrine of merger.
हाँ, बस वही कह रहा हूँ, सर. तो मर्जर अगर हो गया तो खत्म हो गया ना वो, क्योंकि ओरिजिनल ऑर्डर ही रहेगा ना सर वो वाला. That was my view कि उसमें हमें additional interest और penalty नहीं देनी पड़ेगी, ऐसा लगता है मुझे.
So Rajiv ji,
Yes,
there
sir.
are Rajiv ji, there are two
यही है जो what Malhotra sir is saying, that but for this proviso, there is no order subsisting for further revision or appeals, etc.
Yes.
So the order is subsisting just for this proviso. And this proviso says just pay the additional tax amount, that's it. And the waiver of interest and penalty that is there is no need to pay additional, the interest and penalty on the additional tax amount. There was no scope for that. I'll go with this view.
Yes, Rajiv ji, so for your query, there are two supporting arguments that 164(17) only covers erroneous refund and amount pertaining to subsequent years, and also the term all the proceeding in respect of said notice, order, or statement shall be deemed to have been concluded. So this order is only an extension, and since doctrine of merger applies and the earlier order does not subsist, so the new order would take its place, and if additional amount is paid. The intent of the government is whatever tax for 17, 18, 18, 19, 20 is paid, the entire interest and penalty would be waived. So this appellate order would be only in continuation of the earlier order. And once a tax has paid for this year, whatever order from whatever authority is there, the interest and penalty would be waived.
Yes, sir. It looks like. Yes, sir. As per doctrine of merger, we can see. No?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Ji. Thank you.
Okay. So this is the beauty of SMS, that we come across the interpretations and how it has to be read. Although there was a supporting argument also, but this is one issue which I have not come across on any of the platform that I. This is how second proviso to 128A can also be read. Section query number 9, subsection 3 of section 128A refers to only appeal or writ petition. In this regard, whether matters where SLP filed by applicant is pending before Supreme Court, what is the procedure to be followed by the taxpayer to avail the waiver of interest or penalty of both? So it has clarified that SLP before the Supreme Court would also be covered in this waiver scheme, and proof of withdrawal has to be submitted. And once the proof of withdrawal is submitted, then the officer would take the view that whether the applicant is eligible for the waiver scheme or not. Whether the benefit provided under section 128A will be available for matters involving IGST and compensation cess. Yes, the benefit of scheme would be available for matters involving IGST and compensation cess. I don't think there are anything which is to be discussed in question number FAQ 9 or 10. If there are any issues, members can take those issues. So, Venuji, it's 9:58. So we keep it for one final session on the next Saturday.
Yeah, I think we should attempt to close it, and I don't want to defer it next Saturday. Bye.
There are 6 questions, Venuji.
Correct. Next Saturday we will close up those questions.
Yes.
Next Saturday will be the closing ceremony for 128A.
Yes.
RPG, that question 4, that little bit, if you can touch upon it, at least that 9 and 1, which I had asked.
It is easy. We will take it definitely in the next session. That's why I have taken it, because it's 9:58, so we would be crossing that limit of 10. But definitely we will discuss it. I will prepare a short slide, like I have prepared for late fees and interest, and then we will discuss upon it.
Done, sir. Done.
Because this is one issue which would be raising across the country. So I will prepare a short slide and then we will discuss it.
Absolutely.
Done.
So thank you everyone for joining, and now over to Venuji for the final comment.
So, final comment, Arupji is leaving us and going for a holiday. That's the only thing is a final comment. But friends, so what we will do is the next week, we will attempt to complete the session by 9:30. I want everyone to do a reading of the circular and 128A independently. And we will only have kind of quick fire questions where we will take, we will do the discussion from 9:30 to 10, and we'll take the views from the members, yes, no type, because everyone will have a different view. But for sure, everyone would have read. And this being the last session for 128A, I want everyone to read it once again and request Annapurna Madam, she has made some notes. If you can put it into the group, so members can also get benefited from it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. Good day.
Thank you.
And, thank you, Arpit. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.